farthest. We are going to the Upa cave.
Oh, okay. So we're going to a chocolate factory then.
Yes.
Good.
Upa eats our fruit.
Good to know, good to know.
Yeah, that was probably the most clever song I've ever made up off the top of my head.
Congratulations.
Yes.
You win.
Yes, I win the Lamest Person of the Year award.
There's some stiff competition. You have at least moved on to the semifinals.
Okay.
Oh, and you missed.
Yeah.
Double? Wow. Impressive.
Pressing arrow keys makes things a little bit more difficult than using a controller.
Perhaps. So, we are doing this to rescue Flower Child.
Yes, the grass man.
To keep LOL Vor from happening.
Yeah, the salad toss show.
Oh yeah.
That's what they call it.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That sounds vaguely sexual. Something like
Yeah. I can imagine there's probably spar porn out there.
Well, it's Rule 34.
Yeah, exactly. And he's kind of vaguely feminine, so yeah. I
get it.
Huh?
I get it. He's a Venus flytrap.
There we go.
Okay, I get it.
Yes.
That makes
yes. You got it. Plus, he has an alternate skin, like a fusion, where he turns into a little mushroom girl.
Okay.
So
there you go.
There's probably more of that than actual base form spar, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know how it goes. People find one that makes them feel funny in their happy place, and they're like, oh, I like this. Oh, I can draw. Oh, I'm going to upload an entire gallery of this.
Yes, that sounds about right. Yeah, you can always tell when something is a fetish, even if it's not necessarily porny, when there's a whole gallery of it. Like, that's all the person does.
Wow, that attack sucks.
Yeah, multi-hit sleep is fucking bullshit.
Multi-hit status ailments. It's like bad breath is like one of the worst things in existence.
Yeah, there are whole videos, like top 10 videos, top 10 worst enemies in video games, period, and Malboro almost always makes the list. Jesus Christ.
Well, it's like, did you bring somebody who's immune to all status ailments? No? Roll the die!
Good luck.
Are these fat fucks just healing each other?
Yes, they are. They're pretty worthless.
Wow, this fight sucks.
Uh-huh. Yeah, there's a reason that I start using spells.
It's just there to waste your time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, older RPGs did that. They are not perfect by any means.
I feel like from a philosophy standpoint, just on a philosophy of game design, any point where the game tells you stop playing is a mistake.
Unless it's to tell a story, or for some sort of mechanical reason that connects to the plot.
Yeah.
But this is not either of those.
Yeah, I'm always on the fence on the mechanic side where it's here is gameplay, here is story. I feel like the more successful ones interweave the two.
You know, there really aren't that many of them. People always want to point to Half-Life for it, and it's like, you know that most of the story is told through exposition while your character either stands around, walks around, or jumps around.
Yes. I would say that is a step in the right direction. And I'm not saying this is the common thing, because guess what? It's really fucking hard.
Yeah, it is. Like, from what I understand, Journey is a good example of telling the story through the gameplay.
Yes.
So there are games out there like that. They're just not common.
No. In fact, most of them are very experimental because it's very difficult to do that. Some people would want to point to Dark Souls. I'm actually going to say no, because a lot of times the story will happen in cutscene. Yeah,
well, and not to mention a lot of the things that you find with the lore and whatnot, you have to stop the game to read.
Yes. Granted, a bigger chunk than you would expect is based on where things are in the environment.
Okay.
So you do get it through exploration.
So it's tied in at the very least.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's more interwoven than most, but it still has a divide.
Right. It's like stumbling upon an extra cutscene that's not necessarily part of the main plot.
Yeah. But going back to these JRPGs, these old SNES through, I'm going to say all the way up to PS2 era.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of their design came from the limitations of the hardware, and then that just became tradition.
I think so, yeah. Yeah. there are a lot of things I'm glad were thrown out.
Because this combat system we're looking at right now is not super engaging.
Yeah, I actually like turn-based combat, where you enter all of your commands because it makes you think ahead of time, but I can understand watching it is not super engaging.
I like this combat when it does one of two things. Where it adds something else to it, like Legend of Dragoon or Shadow Hearts,
that's
or
great.
even Mario RPG going all the way back to the SNES era.
Yep.
Where there's some skill involved, because it makes you feel like I could go and conquer this underleveled with skill.
Yeah. And
which is always a good feeling.
Yeah, yeah.
The flip side is something like Persona and the SMT series, where it notches it up and it rewards you more for good tactical play and punishes you harder for bad tactical play.
Okay, that makes sense.
But games like this, which admittedly this was, what, SNES?
Yeah.
There's a lot of slack you give to games of this era just because they haven't had so much time with it.
Right.
Because it was just the NES and the SNES that had this style of game. They're still experimenting.
Right, right.
And the big focus on these was they made the gameplay more limited than the platformers and the other stuff like that, so you could fit in more story.
Yes.
Or fancier effects on your attacks and stuff.
Right. Yeah, the animations in this, I assume, took up a hell of a lot of memory.
Yeah. But the combat of just you pick which shin to kick and then watch everyone kick each other's shins until someone falls over. Not the most interesting you can do with that.
Right. Yeah. And again, it can be interesting from a personal perspective because you pick which shin to kick, and that can determine whether you win or lose this battle.
True.
It also, you're picking which shoes to wear to kick said shins.
Yes.
And I find that interesting. Like, one thing I wish they'd bring back in RPGs is save points that don't restore your health, or lack of save points in dungeons. Because though it's a massive pain in the ass to lose to the boss at the end of a dungeon, it's also much more rewarding and it's much more engaging to have to think really hard about what you're going to be doing within this dungeon, how to manage your items, how to manage your resources, your AP, your MP, your HP, all that stuff. Like, that I think is the draw of an older RPG.
Yes, but at the same time, my two issues with that is, one, they're never going to do that again because people are adults and have lives.
I'm aware.
And two, I remember the end of SMT3 Nocturne, where my first run, I made the mistake of going for the secret ending.
Right.
Which requires a secret boss.
Yeah.
Which means you go for a section of dungeon, not a terribly long section of dungeon, but a section of dungeon nonetheless. You go fight the game's normal final boss.
Yeah.
And then immediately after that, here's the secret final boss, who is no fucking joke.
Right.
Lucifer will kick your ass if you don't come super prepared.
Yep.
And it goes back to time to iteration.
Right. Yeah. I'm aware of that. I don't think time to iteration applies quite as much in RPGs. At the very least, not RPGs based on planning and strategy and stuff. Because, like, if you take that out, what do you have left?
I feel like the RPGs I like the most are the ones that give you a save point right before the boss dungeon, or right before the boss room.
Okay.
Because you can go fight the boss, and if it turns out, hey, you barely missed, like one roll of the RNG was the difference between success and failure.
Right.
Then you just want to get back in there. You just want to jump back in. Fuck all this other stuff you had to deal with.
Okay.
Fuck the puzzles. Fuck all this entire dungeon stuff. I just want to get back in there.
Okay. I can understand that.
If you come in and it's just like, hi, my name is Hero. And they're like, no, your name is Jawless. What do you mean? Kiss the curb! Then it's like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna leave. I'm gonna leave, level up, and come back.
Well, okay, so in a situation where you're kicking the curb, I think that would be bad game design on an RPG's part that does do this sort of you don't get a save point before the boss stuff, because the boss should simply be something that is somewhat more difficult than the enemies you fought to get to it. Because at that point, your resources are drained. It's a matter of planning, not of, like, overcoming this massively difficult boss at the end.
Okay.
The boss is something that you have to keep in mind. It's dangerous, and you know it's dangerous, but you have to make sure you have enough resources to competently defeat it at the end. But it's not going to just fucking wipe your ass.
Okay. So I'm starting to see where we're disagreeing on this,
Yeah.
because we have a different philosophy on how a boss should be.
Yes.
Your philosophy is the boss should be mildly more difficult than the stage in general.
Yes.
And the entire challenge should be getting to the boss with enough resources to
Yeah.
not die.
Exactly. It's a holistic approach.
My mindset is the boss should be a challenge unto itself.
Right. See, in that case, I think you should make optional bosses do that sort of thing, where those kinds of things are legendary.
Yeah. Well, I think the entire philosophy of how Dungeons and JRPG should be is what's differing, because you're saying the whole dungeon, boss included, should be the challenge.
Yes.
My philosophy is the dungeon should be the ramp up to the challenge.
Right.
That if you're balancing it correctly, the experience gained and even the resources found in the dungeon should be what equips you to deal with the boss.
Okay. I understand that, and that's a very common game philosophy, and I don't think it's wrong per se. I just think it misses the point of an RPG. Or at least an RPG similar to this.
Okay.
Because, like... Okay, so I think the reason I got into this stuff was the resource management sort of idea. It was a matter of managing the numbers. It was kind of like fun secretarial work.
Okay.
In a way. Challenge in any single instance didn't matter to me as much as like the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, like I think that's the difference here. And I'm not saying you're wrong, because I would totally enjoy a game like that too. Like, I am not opposed to putting a save point before the boss and then making the boss really fucking hard, because even then, if the save point doesn't heal you, you still have to get through the whole damn thing with enough resources to encounter that boss. But if you want to make it harder, so that you have to be more clever with whatever resources you have left, I can see that being an interesting thing too. So you're adding a challenge on top of the secretarial work.
Yeah. Well, I think it kind of goes... I'm always of the opinion that game genres are gradient scale, where on one end you have stuff like Dwarf Fortress,
Yes.
where it's just, here's numbers, here's your spreadsheet, go.
Yeah.
And on the other end, you get shit like Bayonetta, or not even Bayonetta, but Contra, where it's, here's your stuff, enjoy, that's all you're getting, go do it.
Right.
No, just do it. Fuck the numbers, fuck all this, just do it.
I'm not sure Contra's the best example, because in Contra, if you're going to beat that without using the Konami code, you have to know how everything works.
Fair. But what I'm saying is it's all skill-based.
Yeah.
There's on
that's memorization based. I think what you're looking for is more free-flowing sort of games like Sonic the Hedgehog.
Maybe.
And I'm not saying Sonic the Hedgehog are good games, because they're fucking not, but like...
Okay, let me rephrase.
The idea behind them.
Let me rephrase with no examples.
Okay.
'Cause I feel like that's distracting the point.
Yeah.
On one side you have preparation, on the other side you have execution.
Yeah.
And no matter what, you're always going to get some bleed from one to the other. That's why it's a gradient scale.
Yeah, of course.
Or even with the Dwarf Fortress stuff and like the hyper, here's your spreadsheet, go.
Right.
Hitting the wrong button will still fuck you up.
Roguelikes. Roguelikes are the execution end of the spectrum.
And on the other side, you do need to know what the game can throw at you. Like, you do need to understand how the game works, and there's some degree of memorization.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
With what we're both going for, You tend to go way more in the gradient towards the preparation, where
Yes.
that's like the
that is
big engagement.
my interest, yeah.
I tend to go a little bit more in the execution.
Which is why you like Dark Souls.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even in games like this is why I tend to like tactical RPGs more than traditional everyone lines up and starts kicking each other's shins RPGs.
This is fair. I love Final Fantasy Tactics for what it's worth.
Yeah.
I don't like FF Tactics Advanced or 1 or 2 because they're way too fucking easy, but...
And the protagonist of
Oh, well.
Tactics Advance 1's a goddamn monster.
Yeah, he is. But that's beside the point.
That's beside the point.
But yeah, like... I think with Tactics, the reason I liked it is because it's so complicated, and yet you can do it just purely on execution. But like, if you pay attention to turn orders, when spells are going to be, or when spells are going to take off after their casting time and shit like that, then you can do way the hell better than you would just executing on this general idea of what you want to do.
Well, you can prep it, you can give everyone the best spells, you can make a team that works amazingly well coordinated,
Yeah.
and goes with these absolutely insane alpha strikes.
Yeah, something that you will be able to overcome any challenge with.
Or you can go on execution and build a team that's kind of whatever.
Right.
But then once you're in there, your positioning and your framing and your order of operations
Yeah.
is where it goes off.
Yeah, and considering I'm the type of person who wants to min-max all growth and progression for characters, I put people in different jobs constantly in tactics games, just so that I can learn their skills and shit. And so I wind up with those mediocre teams.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, we have given the fruit to the frog things.
Oh yeah, I should probably mention this. You have a choice of whether you want to actually capture an Upa-Rupa or not.
Ooh.
And you can. You can totally capture one. But if you don't, you get a nice little sword that is probably not as good as what I'm having or what I have right now, but is good for the time. And if you do capture one, you get some different dialogue and shit like that. But it's basically the wrong choice, more or less.
Okay.
You can give the Upa-Rupa to this guy, but it doesn't matter because he's going to fight you anyway.
Yeah.
Because that's just the way these games work.
Yeah, if it's a required party member and you're given a choice ahead of time, it's like...
Yeah, well, no, he wanted the Upa-Rupa in exchange for the Grassman, but then he goes back on his word if you give it to him. And then the Upa-Rupa just kind of disappears forever.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't matter, really, because they just all disappear back into their holes anyway. But yeah. Okay, so here we are. This has one of my favorite lines in the game. Yeah, so you can either give him money, Upa-Rupa, or nothing. If you give him money, you lose that money. But yeah, I think I'll do that. Die!
No, the
Yeah.
demons.
Haha!
It's elephant demons.
Yeah!
With 6 tusks, because that makes it more effective at goring you?
Yes, it does.
Interesting.
Because he doesn't actually gore you. He uses his giant hands. The tusks are there for decoration.
Aha! He's going for the crazy anime mustache.
Yes.
Or the mustache festival mustaches. Have you seen those things? Those guys are nuts.
I have seen some of them. Yeah, people can grow amazing mustaches.
Yeah, and like style them in absolutely insane ways. Like somebody styled theirs and then combed it and like molded it into a fucking windmill. It's like,
Yeah.
what are you... Somebody made a full like galleon sail ship out of their facial hair. It's like,
That's amazing.
what is this even? What is this earth?
Is this real life?
Why can't I grow a mustache that cool?
Yeah.
Oh, right, I'm a cephalopod. I don't grow facial hair. Boo!
No.
Oh no, my one weakness!
I grow facial hair, but it's very stubby.
Oh, that's your fur, man.
Yep. Can't style whiskers that way either.
Yeah. Also, I'd assume that would feel really weird.
Yeah, probably. This guy says, I'm gonna slap you, and then he punches you.
This guy doesn't understand what his fists are for.
No. I don't think he understands anything about his own body.
He also can't hit your largest character.
Yeah. So what's funny about this demon is that that model right there is reused. None of the other demon characters that you fight, none of the other bosses, have reused models. But this motherfucker, for some reason, they just decided, we'll palette swap the rest of it.
No, that tells me. Tells me this guy's a jobber.
Yep, he kind of is. He's not very important compared to the rest of the ones that you fight.
Well, I mean, even in a story where demons just kind of show up, this guy seems the most, yeah, whatever, I'm here now, let's fight.
Yeah.
Let's do big fight time now.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, he's here, he's kind of holding this guy hostage, but you go through one dungeon and then it's done.
It wasn't even a big dungeon.
Yeah, whereas, like, you had an usurper for Jean's place. You had, like, Trout was the one who started the whole fucking adventure, more or less. August was there to, like, he actually managed to kill one of your party members. Yeah, you guys better not laugh at me when I'm dead. But,
well, that's what we came here to do. We came here to laugh at you.
People who put on torture shows need to die themselves. You're a very nice person, Cat. But, yeah, like, fucking August, the guy who ran the Coliseum, you had to go through a dungeon for that, but also you had to deal with a couple of party members, and so that was pretty important. And yeah, so you got a whole bunch of stuff for the demons. But this guy, he's just a fucking circus owner. Big deal.
Yep.
Yeah. You could have gotten away any time.
You're dumb. Why are you dumb?
Uh-huh. Just waiting here for people like you.
For someone who realized
that something awful was about to occur.
That is a pretty dumb plan.
Yeah.
Oh, he knew the trees had dead.
Uh-huh.
He knew the plants had the dead.
Yep.
I felt the plants had the dead, so I stuck here in this cage waiting to be eaten by a demon in the hope that somebody who also knew the plants were dead would come by. I was kind of hoping for Gordon Freeman.
Yeah.
But I was hoping for John Freeman, because he knows about the plants are dead.
Yes!
But, you know, I guess you guys will do.
Oh, talking to... Yeah, ASAP. What a weird localization.
We need to get there ASAP. I gave you all the sit rep. Let's go. We need to get to Alpha, Bravo, and Delta Point. Go, go, go.
Yep, so his little ability is, just as he said, walking through forests and trees and shit like that.
Okay.
So there are now other areas accessible via Spar.
Well, okay then.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Spar.
Yeah.
God, his level is low.
Uh-huh, he's bad. Like, he is not a good character, even when you level him up. It's unfortunate. You can make him competent, but that is the extent of it. Because his gimmick, his specialization, is that he has no specialization. He does a little of everything, and he's bad at all of it.
Because that is always good character design.
Yes. Unfortunately, you have to use him in the next dungeon.
Oh man, it sucks. The only time that ever works is if they do a little bit of everything, they start terrible at it, but then if you put the time into them, they end up boss.
There is a character like that in Breath of Fire 3, who is also a plant.
Oh, there you go. They learned from their mistakes.
Yeah. Also, I was wrong. It's not the next dungeon. It's the one after. No, wait. 2 or 3 dungeons after this.
We shall see.
Yes.
We will see next time.
On
Breath of Fire 2?
Yeah.
Yay, ending episodes with energy. Maximum energy.